أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون لهم البشرى في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة لا تبديل لكلمات الله ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. وقال الله عز وجل: إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون ومن يتولى الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا فإن حزب الله هم الغالبون. My dear brothers and sisters, what I'm going to talk about today, inshallah, is what's called Awliyaullah. Awliyaullah Ta'ala mentioned in the ayah, ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Awliyaullah are those whom their guardian is Allah Azza wa Jal. So they are the men of Allah Azza wa Jal. They are supported by Allah and guided by Allah and adopted by Allah. And Allah Azza wa Jal is He is in charge of their affair. Now when Allah Azza wa Jal is in charge of your affair and He is your guardian, you will definitely be well protected and well supported and always will be rescued out of trouble. Now the first ayah, Allah Azza wa Jal stating that Awliyaullah, there is no fear for them and they will not be sad. And then He described who they are. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. Now those who believed in Allah Azza wa Jal and they were mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal, fearing Allah Azza wa Jal, protecting themselves from His punishment, from disobeying Him. And Allah said that to them are the good news in this life. لهم البشرى في الحياة الدنيا. They have a good news in this life and in the hereafter, وفي الآخرة. And no change to the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. And then Allah Azza wa Jal said, that is the greatest win. ذلك الفوز العظيم. So the Prophet ﷺ described them and their status, and he said in the hadith, إن الله تعالى قال: من عادى لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب وما تقرب إلي عبدي بشيء حب إلي مما افترضته عليه ولا يزال عبدي يتقرب إلي بالنوافل حتى أحبه فإذا أحببته كنت سمعه الذي يسمع به وبصره الذي يبصر به ويده التي يبطش بها ورجله التي يمشي بها ولئن سألني لأعطينه ولئن استعاذني لأعيذنه. So this is a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari that Allah Azza wa Jal said, whoever is fighting one of my wali, one of my men, I have declared war against him or her or them. And then he said, no one get close to me from my servant by doing anything more loved to me than what I obliged him to do. So you want to get close to Allah Azza wa Jal, you pray the 5 times a day on time. If you want to be close to Allah Azza wa Jal, you pay your zakah, you pay your charity. If you want to be close to Allah Azza wa Jal, you fast Ramadan. If you want to be close to Allah Azza wa Jal, perform the Hajj, do the halal, avoid the haram, respect parents, avoid killing, avoid stealing. There's a list of things Allah obliged you to do or forbade you from doing. And if you do that and you start getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal by doing more nafil to get closer to Him, you reach a stage when Allah Azza wa Jal loves you. So once He loves you, and He said, حَتَّى أُحِبُّهُ, and when I love him or her, I will become his hearing. By me he hears. Now, you want to hear me the far end, we put amplifier and we put more speakers and radio transmitters and TV transmitters, get more people to hear you. But if Allah Azza wa Jal wants people to hear you, or wants you to hear others, that will be the ultimate ability. You will hear about all those plotting against you. You will hear about all the opportunities which you make use of. You will hear about all the risks and you avoid. Allah will make your hearing so sensitive and so great that you are not going to miss anything, whether it's going to benefit or harm you. Imagine. And then وَبَصَرَهُ الَّذِي يُبْصِرُ بِهِ, and he will be your eyesight. By him you see. So if you see with the power of Allah Azza wa Jal, and you hear with the power of Allah Azza wa Jal, it's known across history how Muslims were able to hear from thousands of miles away. Umar ibn Khattab, when he sends a mission to fight the enemies, and they were about to be ambushed, he shouted to the leader, Ya Sariyat al-Jabal al-Jabal. The leader was Sariya, the leader of the army. He said to him, O Sariya, be mindful of the mountain, be mindful of the mountain. Take care, be careful, there's something hidden behind the mountain. And Sariya heard him. So he was able to reach Sariya, and Sariya was able to hear Umar ibn Khattab. Radiallahu anhu. Umar ibn Khattab was in the middle of khutbah, and everybody listening, out of a sudden he was shouting, Ya Sariyat al-Jabal al-Jabal. So he was seeing as well. He was seeing Sariya. He shouted to Sariya. Sariya heard him, and Sariya avoided the ambush. So this is the men of Allah Azza wa Jal, Awliya Allah. وَيَدَهُ الَّتِي يَبْطِشُ بِهَا, and his hand by which he uses to defeat his enemy or achieve what he wants or do what he wants to do. Now you could see this in your home. If Allah Azza wa Jal adopts you, you probably will be able to problem solve. You know about problem solving? And you will be able to solve your problems. It could be small things hidden, made your washing machine not work, or your dishwasher not work, or your car not start. Could be simple things, and Allah shows you. In your hand you remove this, or you do this, or just adjust something. By the hand of Allah Azza wa Jal. And رِجْلَهُ الَّتِي يَمْشِي بِهَا, his foot which he used to walk. So you won't walk to any disaster. You will not walk to any difficulties. You wouldn't board a plane going from Barcelona to Düsseldorf. Who will take you away from that plane? So Allah Azza wa Jal will be in charge of your feet. But that's the things we're going to talk about. وَلَئِن سَأَلَنِي لَأُعْطِيَنَّهُ. If he asks me, I will give him. So Allah Azza wa Jal, when he adopts someone and become his wali, he will start doing what this person wants. And then وَلَئِنِ اسْتَعَاذَنِي لَأُعِيذَنَّهُ. If he wants help from me, I will straight away come to his help. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ مِنْ عِبَادِ اللَّهِ لَأُنَاسًا مَا هُمْ بِأَنْبِيَاء وَلَا شُهَدَاء يَغْبِطُهُمُ الْأَنْبِيَاءُ وَالشُّهَدَاءُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ بِمَكَانِهِمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ. قالوا يا رسول الله تخبرنا من هم؟ قال هم قوم تحابوا بروح الله على غير أرحام بينهم ولا أموال يتعاطونها والله إن وجوههم لنور وإنهم لعلى نور لا يخافون إذا خاف الناس ولا يحزنون إذا حزن الناس. وقرأ الآية ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. So this hadith رواه أبو داود in his Sahih, that the Prophet ﷺ said, what means in English, there is servant to Allah Azza wa Jal. They are not prophets and they are not martyrs, but the prophets and martyrs envy them the day of judgment because of their status with Allah Azza wa Jal. And they said, O Messenger of Allah, describe them to us. Would you tell us who they are? And he said, they are people who loved each other for the sake of Allah. They love each other for the sake of Allah or biruhillah. And they are not relatives to each other, and they don't have any commercial interaction or commercial or financial, affair between each other. I mean, you could look now in yourself. Do you have such friends? Do you actually have people you love for the sake of Allah? They're not your relatives, and they're not your business partners. How many you have? Do you actually go to see somebody for the sake of Allah, or visit, or help, or talk to, or try to bring to Allah Azza wa Jal? Try to keep on the path of Allah. And that will remove everything called racism, social class, discrimination, automatically. If you want to be one of these, you will never be a racist. You will never be arrogant towards others. And you will be one of those. يَغْبِطُهُمْ الْأَنْبِيَاءُ وَالشُّهَدَاءُ. Prophets and martyrs envy them because of their status the Day of Judgment. And they will not be sad, they will not be frightened. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, their faces are lit with light. Actually, he said their faces are light. وُجُوهُهُمْ نُور. And they are لَعَلَى نُور. لَعَلَى نُور, either they are riding something light, full of light, or they are walking on light. And they don't fear when people fear the Day of Judgment, and they will not be sad when everybody is sad on that day. And then he read the ayah, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. أولياء Allah, those whose guardian is Allah, there's no fear for them and there's no sadness. Now, you need to look into like who could be called Waliullah. Obviously it's going to be difficult for us to read anybody's heart, but can you spot one? I will give you a few examples about those whom Allah Azza wa Jal showed that they are adopted by Him, because He answers them whenever they ask, and He rescues them whenever they are in difficulty. Now Anas radiallahu anhu said that the Prophet ﷺ said, كم من ضعيف متضعف ذي طمرين لو أقسم على الله لأبره ومنهم البراء ibn Malik. Now Al-Bara ibn Malik is the brother of Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, and he was very brave. And Al-Bara witnessed Uhud and all the wars after that with the Prophet ﷺ, and he was weak. You could look at him, you think that why he's out to fight? He can't fight. This man is not fit for a war. But he managed to kill more than 100 people on one-to-one fighting. On one-to-one. Beside those he hit inside the wall, hidden from everybody else. So when there is request to come out to fight, challenge, usually in the Arab when they had the fight, used to ask for people to come out from the leaders and match them from their side and fight in front of everybody and see who beats the other partner. So he did manage to kill 100 on one-to-one, and a lot during the wars. And Ibn Jawzi narrated that when in one mission Al-Bara ibn Malik, they couldn't get into the castle they faced, and he asked the Sahaba to put him. He sat on a shield and he said, push me with your arrows to the top of the wall, and he managed to go over the wall and kill 10 of these guards and open the wall. He died the year 20 Hijrah radiallahu anhu. And then he was with a mission, Al-Bara ibn Malik, and he met the enemies, and the Muslims said to him, because the Prophet ﷺ said, لو أقسم على الله لأبره. He said if he made a request from Allah, Allah will do it for him. And they heard the hadith. They said, you're the one, please ask Allah to help us. And he made a dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. He said, أقسمت عليك يا رب لما منحتنا أكتافهم. He prayed to Allah to make us win against these enemies, and they won. There were another mission. They met another enemy, and they came to Bara ibn Malik and said, please ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help us out. So he said, أقسمت عليك يا رب لما منحتنا أكتافهم وألحقتني بنبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم فمنحوا أكتافهم وقتل البراء. So the Muslims start using him, you ask Allah, you don't have to do anything. Next time said, you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help us out. So he made a request to Allah, Allah Azza wa Jal, help us out, defeat our enemy, and make me join Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they defeated the enemy and he was martyred in that war. Now, obviously, Sahaba are very keen that they don't make each other rely on nothing. Okay, Allah will do the war for us. No, you have to do the job. Allah will help you out. So you cannot come and use somebody and not do the job yourself. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, another wali min awliyaullah, he was also answered by Allah Azza wa Jal. And a man told lie about him. And he said, oh Allah, if he was lying, take out his sight and make him live longer and expose him to numerous tests. And this man became blind and he lived long, and he used to come and interrogate, harass women and gaze on the way. And he was an old man, and he used to say, I'm an old man, maftoon, have been tested or been tried, hit by the prey of Sa'd. So Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he made that dua on me, I can't stop it. And Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he heard a man swearing at Ali radiallahu anhu. And he made dua to Allah Azza wa Jal to punish this guy. And while they were standing, a horse came, or a camel came, very fast, very agitated, hit this man and killed him. Now Sa'id ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu, a woman was disagreeing with him about a piece of land, and he said, how would I take you a piece of land while I heard the Prophet ﷺ saying, من أخذ شبرا من أرض ظلما طوقه إلى 70 أرض. How would I take your land while the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever take a land from somebody unjustly, Allah will tie him to a 7 earth down. And Sa'id said, oh Allah, if she was lying, take her eyesight and make her die in her land. And she became blind, and she was walking in her land, and she fell in a hole and died. Al-Ala ibn al-Hadrami, now talking about the men of Allah Azza wa Jal, those awliyaullah, those who Allah will answer them, will rescue them, will respond to their dua. How would you know the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was correct? The miracles the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed. He brought the Quran, the greatest miracle ever existed, because it existed in the time of revelation and still existing to the day of judgment. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed a lot of miracles at his time, which proved that he was a messenger. Allah Azza wa Jal gave that gift to his followers, those who are close to Allah Azza wa Jal, and they're performing miracles, but not called miracles, they're called karamat, honored by certain events. وَمَا كَانَ مُعْجِزَةً لِنَبِيٍّ فَهُوَ كَرَامَةً لِوَلِيٍّ. If it's a miracle to a prophet, it is a karama to the men of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the karama, مَا كَانَ كَرَامَةً لِوَلِيٍّ فَهُوَ مُعْجِزَةٌ لِنَبِيٍّ. I heard it recently from Shaykh Ahmad Sa'd, the other way around as well. Having ability to perform a karama like this, supernatural things, it's a proof that your prophet is a prophet, and he performed miracles. So book both ways. Now, Abu Musallam al-Khawlani, there was a woman who was trying to make his life with his wife so horrible, so he made dua to Allah that Allah take her eyesight, and she lost her eyesight. So she came to Abu Musallam al-Khawlani and begged him to pray to Allah to return her eyesight, and she will never do it again. And he prayed, and Allah returned her eyesight. Al-Ala ibn al-Hadrami, now we're talking about now how you could tell these people actually men of Allah. So he was in a mission, with the Muslims, and they were thirsty, run out of water. So as they said, he made salah, and he prayed to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He said, Ya Alim, Ya Hakim, Ya Ali, Ya Azim, إنا عبيدك وفي سبيلك نقاتل عدوك فاسقنا غيثا نشرب منه ونتوضأ ولا تجعل لأحد فيه نصيبا غيرنا. So he made this dua. Wali min Awliya Allah al-Ala ibn al-Hadrami. He said, Oh Allah, the knowledgeable, the wise, the high, the great, we are your servant, we are fighting for your sake, your enemy. Give us water that we drink from it and make wudu from it, and do not let anyone else have a share from it. So they went down a hill and they found a river running, and they drank from it, filled their containers, and made wudu, and they walked. And one of them went back to get some more water, and there was no water. The earth was dry as if there were never a river running there. Now Abu al-Aswad ibn Qais al-Anasi, who was a false prophet, he told that he was a false prophet, he was claiming to be a prophet. The Prophet ﷺ sent to him Abi Musallam al-Khawlani. And when he came to him, he said to him, do you witness that I'm a messenger of Allah? He said, I can't hear you. He said, do you witness that Muhammad is a messenger of Allah? He said, yes, Muhammad is a messenger of Allah. So he put a huge fire and he threw him in the fire to kill him. And Abu Musallam al-Khawlani, he came out of the fire safe, not harmed at all. So his followers said, let him go away, otherwise he will spoil in you that you are a prophet. He will prove that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet. So he let him go back to Medina. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came back to Medina, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died at that time. So he came, and Abu Bakr was the Khalifa, and he came to the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he started praying behind a column. And Umar ibn Khattab noticed him, and he came to him and he said, who are you? Are you the one who was burned thrown in a fire by Abu al-Anas al-Aswad ibn Qais al-Anasi? And he said to him, he was Abdullah ibn Thawb, and his name Abdullah ibn Thawb. But he was his other, Abi Musallam is his like nickname or kunya. And he hugged him, Umar ibn Khattab. And he hugged him and he cried. And he said, Alhamdulillah, الذي لم يمتني حتى أراني في محمد في أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم من فعل به كما فعل بإبراهيم عليه الصلاة والسلام خليل الرحمن. So he thanked Allah Azza wa Jal that he didn't die until I saw someone of the messenger's followers was doing things exactly as Ibrahim al-Khalil alayhi salatu wasalam when he was saved from the hellfire, from the fire. So these Awliya Allah, adopted by Allah, saved by Allah. His wife said to him, Abu Musallam, we don't have any food. He said, have you got any money left? You don't have anything. He said, only I have 1 dirham. He said, give it to me and give me a bag. So he took the dirham and took the bag and went to the market, tried to find food. While he was standing by a shopkeeper, a man came and said, for my God, said, give me money, give me help, I'm poor. And he escaped from him. He wanted to bring food to his wife and his family. He ran away, tried to hide. And so the poor man followed him. And he caught him again in another place trying to buy food. He again begged him for money, and he gave him dirham. So he was embarrassed to go back to buy food. So he went and put a sawdust and earth in the bag. And he went home, knocked on the door, the wife came, he threw the bag and went. So he came in the evening, and the wife cooked the food there, and bread Bahraini. He said, where did you get this food from? That's the bag you threw. That's the bag you threw. So that's Awliya Allah. Now see how many of us will become Awliya Allah, from Awliya Allah. How many of us will be able to show the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is true through you. أو كما قال قولوا قولي